Today on IO Garage, we do butt stuff with the Celica. So I tried mocking up the IRS just to see exactly how it would look like in here. One of the biggest issues I ran into is the pan hard rod bracket. I need to get rid of that thing. I need to take off all of the little tie rod end links. I already took off the bump stops. Those aren't really gonna get in the way, but as of right now, I'm just trying to see exactly where this thing needs to sit, just so then that way I can start mocking up some points. Sometimes I wish I could have started off with a GTS chassis since they're already IRS, and those F-Series discs can just handle a good amount of power and a 1UZ wasn't gonna scare it. But I'm happy I was even able to find such a clean Celica in the first place. And I mean, this was supposed to be my wife's car, so I basically stole it from her, and now I'm doing whatever I want to do with it. Yeah. I'm gonna eventually get her little car that she wants, but for right now, I need to figure out mine. So first things first, I need to cut off that pan hard rod bracket, and then I need to see what I'm gonna do next. So I finally got the gas tank off, and I cut off a piece of the pan hard rod bracket, but I still have that left over right there, and it's been so annoying to get to, especially with gas lines. Luckily, this thing is entirely empty. There's only like a few drops coming out, but I'm still afraid of a fire, so I'm gonna have to figure out the fuel line stuff first before I start cutting the rest of that off. So I suited up a bit just because I have to get under there with the grinder. I hate getting burned by the little sparks on the grinder, so gotta have a little bit of PPE. Anyways, my goal today is just to get that bracket cut off and just getting a better vision of where that IRS is gonna sit and exactly how it's gonna look like. Let's get back to it. So after cutting the pan hard rod bracket, I threw the IRS back in just to kind of get a good idea of where everything's sitting. I'm getting a lot of rub on the frame rail itself, so I'm thinking of just skimming it and just putting a plate over that. I'm trying to mount the entire subframe as deep into the chassis as I can. So unfortunately, one of the first things that has to go is the spare tire wheel well. I also gotta look into exactly how much off of the frame rail I gotta skim. Once I figure that out, I'm gonna plate it, and then I'm gonna throw some square tubing in. It has to be strong enough to hold all the power that the engine's gonna put out, and it's not like it's gonna be a crazy number, but this car originally was a 4-banger, so it's not like the chassis is set up for a V8. So me taking away from the chassis is not gonna help it out. From what I've looked on different forums, it seems like not a lot of people have wanted to or have gone through with the whole entire IRS swap on these cars, since you can just buy a GTS and those already come with the IRS rear end. Realistically, I should have just gone that route. Just like with my Tercel, I should have gone the KE70 route. There's just something about having a one-off car that just always, I don't know, intrigued me a little bit. I don't know if I could show you guys just exactly how much room there is, but I don't have any doubts that the IRS cradle isn't gonna fit, but since this was designed for a straight axle rear, there's just some dimensions that don't meet it, but that's what massaging is for. Let's see what we can do. Not gonna lie, kind of broke my heart doing that. But we have so much more room for activities. Yes, that is almost a perfect circle, by the way. I need to relocate those fuel lines. Not sure what I'm gonna do with them yet. I need to cut off a few exhaust hinges that are in the way. And on that front part of the subframe, that's where the rails are hitting. I gotta get the Celica back in the air again, move that IRS out, start cutting. I'm tired. So I have to take a pretty substantial amount of rail out, and that's honestly concerning me. I gotta basically skim it from the start of this bolt hole all the way up until it meets up here. I might have to clear a little bit of this side of the way just because the top of the control arm is hitting. I might start off by just cutting a bit of this out, cutting out the original bump stop support, and seeing how much room that's gonna leave me. Sometimes I really hate myself for the decisions that I make, but let's do it. So, stupid idea, don't do this at home. So I centered the IRS again, and I'm basically just dropping the weight of the car on top of it, and it's being held up by the tires. Do not do this at home. This is dangerous and stupid, but I can do it because I'm licensed to. But anyways, now that the car's full weight is on it, and I have it pretty centered, I can see exactly where on the frame rails it's hitting. You can see exactly where on the frame rail it's hitting. It's literally just that front part of the subframe that's tapping that part of the rail. So I'm thinking maybe if I just notch that, I'll be able to get away with it. Also, it looks like I'm just gonna be able to run some square tubing from one point to the other, and I'll be able to get some pedestals going so that way I can mount the back points. So this black piece that you can see right here, that's the front mounting point. I gotta basically get that to tuck up parallel with that frame. So I have a lot of notching that I gotta do. I might start trying to attack it with the grinder just to see how much I can take off, but honestly it would just be so much simpler hitting it with the plasma cutter. Honestly, this just makes me think why the fuck I haven't taken care of the Tercels rear end, but whatever, let's get it. So after messing around with the subframe for a while, I got it basically centered, and I think I got a good idea of exactly what I gotta do. So for this mount, I'm basically just gonna build a little box right off of this corner. I'm gonna do the exact same thing for that one. They basically line up perfectly inside of these frame rails. So I'm gonna use these to actually make the mounts for these. So that way I'm gonna tie them into the car. Another cool thing is the top of that frame rail follows the exact same line as this subframe. So I'm gonna try to tuck this as close as I can in there. I'm gonna try to leave about 1/4 inch. I'm not gonna leave those fuel lines there. I'm probably gonna either reroute them or go with stainless steel down the line. The top of this control arm actually sits almost perfectly inside of this old bucket for a shock. So all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna trim it all the way through, plate it from there. So then that way the control arm will be able to sit freely up there and have as much space as it needs. Same thing for that side. So for right now, I'm gonna have to pull the IRS back out. I'm gonna have to take a whole bunch of measurements. I'm more than likely gonna make a bunch of templates out of cardboard, just so then that way I can get a good idea of what I gotta do to the frame. This was definitely a huge bite that I took, but it will be nice knowing that I will be the first IRS converted Celica, which, like I said, they already sell Celicas with IRSs in them, so don't go down this route. If you want one with an IRS, just go buy a Celica GTS. But honestly, right now, I am exhausted. I have been moving that IRS in and out, jacking the car up and down for the past 2-3 days nonstop, trying to get everything measured out and trying to get a good idea of what everything looks like, and I am tired. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the IRS back out. I'm gonna put the car on jack stands, and I'm gonna start cutting the Tercel because I still need to figure out the transmission tunnel on this thing, and I can't just let it sit there. So let's see what happens. Wait, what the? God damn. So I got a small section of the trans tunnel cut out just to see if there was multiple layers of steel in there, since it is stamped steel. And nah, it seems to just be one. So I'm just gonna cut out from this bottom portion, basically following this line, and I'm gonna stop right where the shifter goes through. And I'm probably just gonna cut across from there and start mocking it up just to see how it looks. I know I gotta cut this off and raise it up a little higher. I'm hoping it stops at the height of this, so in that way I could just build off of this. But if not, I'm gonna have to reinforce this before I cut it. So I'm gonna go ahead, cut a bit more off and see where it leaves me. So I have this really bad habit of just not picking up my camera whenever I start doing certain stuff. But anyways, I got the majority of the transmission tunnel cut out, and right now I have the engine and trans basically sitting in what's gonna be their permanent positions. You guys have obviously already seen 4AGE. And now we got the T50 sitting in its permanent location. To be quite honest, I'm pretty surprised it cleared the heater core, but I can tell that it's hitting a few things, so I'm gonna have to relocate a little bit of stuff. And exactly what I thought was gonna happen, the output of the trans is way higher than this little center beam is, so I'm gonna have to cut it, square tube it, and continue the tunnel from there. Honestly, I gotta stop procrastinating on the Tercel. Finishing up the triangulated 4-link in the rear is gonna be super easy. I don't know why it's taking me so long. I basically just gotta get my hands on some 16 gauge steel just so that way I can make a trans tunnel. Oh wait, already have it. Now I need to fucking make a trans tunnel. So I have just enough square tubing to make that little bridge across the transmission. Hopefully with the amount of 16 gauge steel that I have, I'll be able to clear the whole entire trans tunnel. But yeah, I think I'm gonna end this video here. In the past few days, I've knocked out quite a bit of stuff that I've been needing to knock out. and I officially go back into work starting tomorrow. If you guys are interested in seeing any content in my mini truck, go ahead and comment that below. I have a few plans coming up for it, like a turbo 22RE setup. I also plan on doing a Miata suspension, just a few little things. Let me know how you guys feel. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in to this week's video of Via Garage. Have a good one.